process, who changed the truth of Elohim into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever.
Okay.
Right? So what do you mean? Who changed the truth of the Most High into a lie? Everything you thought was in the Bible, some years of serious consideration has now shown you that it's not even in the Bible.
This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk, I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park, I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real, I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you. I'm hitting on this track like it's magical. Place it with the classical, I make it international. You want the sympathetic, and I'm a little drastic though. Focus on my past, I'ma give you what you asking for. Save it for the fashion show. Talking about your church service, I ain't here to talk to you. Where the hell your pastor go? Lying through his teeth, preaching like he swear to God, misleading people. Now they act like they ain't scared of God. People looking for change, but choose to walk ahead of y'all. Make a tight beat, tell the truth in the song, and they head a nod. No change, no option of dodging flames. Dreams of copping the range, sneakers, outfits, and chains. Nigga prophets explain why demon prophets remain. One ticket to hell, my niggas hopping the train. Y'all got a name to put the top prophets to shame. His name and his fame is stopping the pain. This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk, I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park, I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real, I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you. Didn't want to read it, receiving it from the Catholics. Mine couldn't conceive of believing it from the Baptists. The Hebrews wasn't white, so they running all out of actors. Searching through the chapters and seeing they got it backwards. Kindly tell the truth, and the rage and them only escalated. Every word they hated, but none want to debate it. So what I'm supposed to do, let them fake it until they make it. Nah, bowing to the idols, my powers vowing to take them down. Now I believe in smoking while Christians drinking the potion. Everybody's high on that lie when the demon spoke it. Alive on arrival with Bruce, we all awoke with. Vision kinda blurry, he's realigning the focus. Gotta tell the truth, if it fills the room or it clears it out. Peers don't wanna hear, so I'm filled with a lot of fears and doubts. You gave me the heart, so it's time to put the action in. Praises that I give you on earth will only be practicing. This is about the way that I walk. You got an issue about the way that I talk, I'ma give it to you. For the brothers outlined in the chalk, Tamir Rice chilling out in the park, I'ma give it to you. And they don't know the way that I feel. On the mission now to tell you what's real, I'ma give it to you. While you're looking for a proper appeal, you want the gospel just to cop you a feel. I'm not dealing with you.
All right. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. If I can be heard and seen, someone please put a 1 in the comments. If my audio is good and my video is good, someone please put a 1 in the comments. We'd be so grateful. All right. See, we got a few people with us early. All right, cool. All right. Shabbat shalom, brother Chick in the building says I'm good in YouTube land. Shabbat shalom. Brother Quam 12 says I'm good in YouTube land. Hopefully my mic's not low, because StreamYard likes to restart my settings. I don't know why. Like, if it was good last week, it should stay, but for some reason it doesn't. Shabbat shalom, Akira Johnson. Shabbat shalom, brother Emmanuel Bronson. Everybody is over in YouTube land. I see. Hopefully I got somebody in Facebook can let me know if everything is everything. But yeah, and then I got my banner all the way off. Let me fix that real quick. We're going to be coming from Baruch chapter 2. Okay, Baruch chapter 2. I'm going to read that in its entirety. We're going to read that for devotion. All right. For those of you who might be following, you know what I mean, spying, you know what I mean, and don't have the Apocrypha, right? You might not be able to follow along, but if you got the Apocrypha, you got the book of Baruch. So we're going to read Baruch chapter 2. I'm going to read it for devotion. All right. And if you can see, I got it up on my screen. we'll have it. There we go. Got it up on the screen. You can read along with us. Baruch chapter 2. Fix my sound again real quick. All right. And also, let me know if my sound is too low. If I'm coming through low, because sometimes I don't get that. All right. Facebook user says I'm good over on Facebook land. All right. I think you have to share, give permission to StreamYard for it to share your likeness, or it's going to pop up as Facebook user. All right. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into the Bible study. Oh, before we get into the reading, I did want to bring up the fact that, I brought this message back from last week because I felt like it was some stuff that we kind of left on the table, dealing with history and how we got here today, how modern Christianity has formatted itself into what it is today, bringing the totality of the message that the true custodians of the scriptures are the Most High's chosen people. He didn't give his word to the Roman Catholic Church. He didn't give it to Emperor Constantine for him to create the Edict of Milan or the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. He didn't give permission to those people, so therefore everything that transpired with Martin Luther, and we'll get into others who helped format that replacement theology. But there was a little bit of history that I left on the table that I wanted to bring back, all right? Not going to beat a dead horse, but we have to understand how and why, you know what I'm saying, people practice Christianity the way that they do today. Or the better way of saying it, why you see none of what you read in the Bible in what they call Christianity today. I think that would be a better way to state it. All right. Make sure I got everything. All right, let's go ahead and get it. Let's get into it. Baruch chapter 2, and it reads, Therefore Yahweh has made good his word, which he pronounced against us, and against our judges that judged Israel, and against our kings, and against our princes, and against the men of Israel and Judah, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, as it came to pass in Jerusalem according to the things that were written in the law of Moses, that a man should eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter. Moreover, he has delivered them to be in subjection to all kingdoms that are round about us, to be as a reproach and desolation among all the people round about, where Yahweh has scattered them. Thus we were cast down and not exalted, because we have sinned against Yahweh our Elohim, and have not been obedient unto his voice. To Yahweh our Elohim pertaineth righteousness, but unto us and to our fathers open shame, and imparteth to this day. For all these plagues are come upon us, which Yahweh has pronounced against us. Yet we have not prayed before Yahweh, that we might turn everyone from the imaginations of his wicked heart. Wherefore Yahweh watched over us for evil, and Yahweh has brought it upon us. For Yah is righteous in all his works which he has commanded us. Yet we have not hearkened unto his voice, to walk in the commandments of Yah that he set before us. All right. Verse 11. And now, O Yah, Elohim of Yisrael, that has brought thy people out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand and high arm, and with signs and with wonders and with great power, and has gotten thyself a name as appeareth this day. O Yah, our Elohim, we have sinned, we have done ungodly, we have dealt unrighteously in all thine ordinances. Let thy wrath turn from us, for we are but few left among the heathen, where thou hast scattered us. Hear our prayers, O Yah, and our petitions, and deliver us from for thine own sake, right? And give us favor in the sight of them which have led us away, that all the earth may know that thou art Yahweh our Elohim, because Yisrael and his posterity is called by thy name. O Yah, look down from thine set apart house, and consider us. Bow down thy ear, O Yah, to hear us. Open thine ears, and behold, for the dead that are in the graves, whose souls are taken from their bodies, will give unto Yah neither praise nor righteousness, but the soul that is greatly vexed, which goeth stooping and feeble, and the eyes that fail, and the hungry soul will give thee praise and righteousness, O Yah. Therefore we do not make our humble supplication before thee, O Yah, our Elohim, for the righteousness of our fathers and our kings. For thou hast sent out thy wrath and indignation against us, as thou hast spoken by the servants the prophets, saying, Thus said Yahweh, bow down your shoulders to serve the king of Babylon, so ye remain in the land that I gave unto your fathers. But if ye will not hearken unto the voice of Yah, to serve the king of Babylon, I will cause to cease out of the city of Judah and from without Jerusalem the voice of mirth, the voice of joy, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride. And the whole land shall be desolate of its inhabitants. But we would not hearken unto thy voice, to serve the king of Babylon. Therefore thou made good the words that thou spoken by the servants the prophets, namely, that the bones of our kings and the bones of our fathers should be taken out of their places. And lo, they are cast out of the heat of the day and to the frost of the night. And they died in great miseries by famine, by sword, and by pestilence. And the house which is called by thy name hast thou laid waste, as it has been seen to this day, for the wickedness of the house of Yisrael and the house of Yehudah. O Yah, our Elohim, thou hast dealt with us after all thy goodness, and according to all that great mercy of thine, as thou spakest in the servant Moses in the day when thou did command us to write thy law before the children of Israel, saying, If ye will not hear my voice, surely this great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am Yahweh their Elohim. For I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds. For they shall remember the ways of their fathers which sinned before Yahweh. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And I will no longer drive my people Yisrael out of the land that I have given them. The Most High's word is already blessed. Let's go ahead and get into the Bible study. All right, the true custodians of Scripture, part 2. Right, the Protestant Reformation. We're dealing with colonization and the fulfillment of prophecy. A lot of people don't really understand it. Look, just as what we just read in Baruch, all of these things were prophesied to happen. He said, in the land of your captivity, you shall remember yourself. So this great awakening is happening, and a lot of the nominal Christians don't know how to take it. They don't know what's going on. They think, that we are possessed of the devil. They believe that the doctrine of Christianity is right and true, and that it has an origin in righteousness, that it descended from Jesus when he told Peter that on this rock I'll build my church. And then from there it went to the Roman Catholic Church, where after the Most High, this is their theology, after Christ gave Peter the prophecy of the new church that he was going to build, that the Pope replaced Peter, and so on and so forth. The Reformation, the colonization, all of those different things happen, right? So they don't really understand the true history on why they adopt or have the doctrine that they follow. We have to bring it out. I couldn't move forward in this message, leaving so much information on the table. So we had to come back. We had to do like the young folks say, circle the block. You know what I mean? We had to circle the block. So let's go ahead and get into it. Matter of fact, there's something I need to do right fast. So give me a second. And hopefully you can follow along. All right. So getting into it, the Protestant Reformation. We dealt with Martin Luther last Shabbat, and we went into how, he was protesting against the Roman Catholic Church and their practices of indulgence. And we brought out, a lot of the things that he was right to do, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, him being not of Israel, he had no right to do, right? We'll get into it. The Protestant Reformation, which began as a movement to reform the practices of the Roman Catholic Church, marked a turning point not only in European history, but in the destiny of nations worldwide. From the lens of Hebraic prophecy, the Reformation and its aftermath, particularly the colonization of the Americas and the transatlantic slave trade, aligned with the prophetic warning found in Deuteronomy 28. As Europe's reach extended across the globe, these prophecies took on a profound new meaning, bringing both physical and spiritual exile upon countless people of Yisrael, as Yisrael abandoned the Torah, right? They were the cause of the Most High's chosen people abandoning the Torah. There was a lot of things that played into that. And matter of fact, if I can just throw a book out there that I found very helpful in research, it would be Ibram X. Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning. Amir, go downstairs and grab that book. It's on my table in the cave. Grab that for me real quick. It's a book called Ibram X. Kendi. If you ever get a chance, get a hold of that book, all right, and read how these plagues that were promised to the Most High's chosen people have taken place. He doesn't go into it and with the narrative that these are the Most High's chosen people, that the so-called black man, woman, and child are the Most High's chosen people. He's just giving you a history when it comes to black people, when it relates to Christianity, right? How certain aspects of it details how they thought, you know what I'm saying, that becoming a Christian would free them from slavery, right? Because they had it in their doctrine at one point. They changed it that a Christian can't enslave his brother, right? So they were to be brothers in Christ, and that was going to free up the slave from, you know what I'm saying, his bondage and servitude. But they later switched it. Ibram X. Kendi goes into all of that history, but you know what I'm saying, let's keep it moving. Let's go. Colonization in a new promised land, right? Doctrine, all right? And if you could see it, I got it right here. This is the book, Stamped from the Beginning, all right? A definitive history of racist ideas in America, right? By Ibram X. Kendi. Get a hold of this book. It is a lot of information. Let me make sure y'all can see it. No, my thing is terrible. Nope, it's not letting me show it. Whatever. Hopefully you can get a copy of it. But anyways, let's get into it. The reformers, right? Talking about Martin Luther, right? Martin Luther, the reformers, among them Martin Luther, John Calvin, Aldrich Zwingli, sought to break free from what they perceived as corruptions within the Roman Church. Yet, rather than returning to the ancient Hebraic foundations of Yah's covenant, they formed doctrines that further distanced themselves from the Torah. European nations, empowered by these theological shifts, embarked on colonizing the New World, justifying their conquest as a divinely mandated mission, right? Colonists claimed that they were building a new promised land while disregarding the Most High's commandments, resulting in subjugation of the indigenous populations, all right? So what that's basically saying is they took this reformed doctrine, right, where, they moved away from the Roman Catholic Church, and, they were starting to read the word for themselves and interpret it for themselves. And then, they started moving into what they called the New World, seeking what they say is religious freedoms. That's where we get the doctrine of discovery. And then that's where before I get ahead of myself, that's where Portugal and Spain decided they were going to take over the whole world. They had the whole world at one point split down the middle. That's why when you get to some of the Southern American countries, where some of them speak Spanish and others speak Portugal, like Brazil. I didn't know. I thought they were speaking Spanish. They speak Portuguese, sounds the same, but it is what it is. There's a dark history related to them reforming the word and taking it in their vein, okay? A lot of so-called Christians don't know the origin of their doctrine, okay? And they get upset when folks say, listen, you and your oppressor having the same God is ridiculousness, but it is what it is. Let's keep it moving, right? These actions reflect the prophecies of Deuteronomy 28, which warned of scattering and hardship as consequences for abandoning Yah's covenant. By rejecting the Hebraic foundations, these nations set themselves on a course that would bring suffering and exile upon those they colonized, right? in fulfillment of what this Bible study is going to deal with, you do need to be grounded in Deuteronomy 28:15-68, as well as Leviticus 26, but also Baruch chapter 2, where what we just read gave an overview on why the Most High allowed that to happen to his chosen people. Okay, let's get it. He says in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68, because despite the proclaiming religious freedom, all right, European colonizers subjected entire populations to enslave and convert, all right, ironically fulfilling these very verses in Deuteronomy 28, warned, okay, by the Most High if we abandon his commandments. He says in verse 26, and Yahweh shall scatter you among all people from one end of the earth to the other, and there you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. Okay, we bring that whole conversation of the cobblestone, you know what I'm saying, that the Muslims circle about, and then we bring that old rugged cross, you know what I mean, showing you that that is not a representation of the Messiah in scripture, okay, but it is what it is. All of these doctrines that Christianity holds on today were voted on at the Council of Nicaea, right? They also took out books, you know what I'm saying, when they translated the scriptures, they took out words and added words, and they created a whole theology which our modern day Christians follow behind today. So let's get into it. The transatlantic slave trade, all right, as a prophetic fulfillment, all right. The slave trade was a direct consequence of the colonial expansion, uprooting millions of Africans from their homelands to serve European economic interests. This forced migration and enslavement, all right, reflect the prophecies in Deuteronomy, all right, where exile, captivity, and hardship are described as punishments for forsaking the Most High's covenant. Africans taken from lands and brought to foreign shores experienced the fate that aligns eerily with the prophetic curses being transported in ships and sold into bondage, right? We make this argument, and we shouldn't have to make this argument because we know our history, right? But we make this argument to the Christian to show them that this is the prophecy of the Most High, and it has not happened to any other people, right? And it's still happening to us to this day, right? It is what it is. Nobody else can make that claim. Let's look at Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68 as we speak about this slave ship situation. It says, and Yah shall bring you back to Mizraim, or Egypt, in ships, right? That word Egypt means house of bondage, by way of which I said to you, you are never to see it again, and there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will redeem you. Okay, no one will redeem you. While we're sitting around today trying to vote away our oppression and vote away our you know what I'm saying, subjugation, it is what it is. It's not supposed to happen according to prophecy. You can make your petition for reparations all you want, right? True reparations is to be repaired and restored, right? It's not a check, but it is what it is. Many African captives were stripped of their languages, traditions, and spiritual identities, leaving them vulnerable to their captors' religious teachings. This is how you became Christian. This is how you and your oppressor worship the same God, okay? This exile mirrors the prophetic warning of being separated from one's heritage and left to serve foreign nations and deities, right? And then one of the things that people don't want to come to terms with when it comes to being a descendant of slaves and a descendant of Jim Crow era and so on and so forth. The Most High said you will be sold to your enemies, right? You want to make friends out of your enemies, or you want a handout from your enemy. No, the Most High is going to redeem us. He's going to come back and fight our battles for us. But let's get back to the replacement theology and the erasure of the Hebraic roots, right? A major factor that fueled colonization and justified the oppression of other peoples was replacement theology, right? It's not just detrimental that you are following a false religion, okay? And, you know what I'm saying, not the true word of the Most High, but it's also a reason why we went into slavery. It's a thing. You have to understand the God that they serve justifies everything that they do, and it's still working and operating like that today. But let's not lose focus. All right, let's understand the doctrine developed by the early church fathers and solidified during the Reformation. This theology proposed that the church had replaced Israel in Yah's covenant, rendering the Torah obsolete. Figures such as Martin Luther, John Calvin, Justin Martyr pushed doctrines that separated the new covenant from the Torah and encouraged believers to forsake Hebraic practices. That's why when people introduce the scriptures to you, they always tell you to start at Matthew and get to know, the story of Christ, and then go back and try to understand the Old Testament. No, if you don't have the whole Bible, you don't have no Bible. First of all, you can't understand the New Testament until you understand the Torah and the prophets, all right? But that's one of the things that happened. That's one of the things we need to get back to. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Okay, let's get it. Because, not chapter 15, chapter 28, verse 15. Replacement theology thus laid the groundwork for cultural and spiritual erasure, right? Leading to a religion that detached itself from the commandments of Yah and justified the conquest. Let's get it. Let's get to the roots of the, of the erasure of the Hebrew roots. Deuteronomy 28:15. This was the promise the Most High made to his people. He said, and it shall be, if you do not obey the voice of Yah, your Elohim, to guard to do all his commands and all his laws, which I command you today, that these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Right? We make this conversation with folks all the time to let them know the reason for the plight that so-called black people have. Right? And Christianity, is not the liberator, right? The Torah was deemed irrelevant by these people, all right? And Israel's role as the covenant people was diminished. Each empowered colonist, all right, in all of this situation, it empowered colonists to claim new lands and subject native and enslaved populations to a distorted form of Christianity, right? It is not what the Most High had deemed, but this is what they did. In the 18th and 19th century, right, enslaved Africans and the Americans increasingly turned to Christianity. Why? Often as a means of coping with their harsh reality and as an attempt to gain favor or mercy from their captors. For some, converting to Christianity offered a glimmer of hope, as slaveholders sometimes used the promise of religious assimilation to pacify and control their enslaved laborers. Conversion provided a form of survival, allowing the enslaved to create communities within their confines and navigate their conditions under the guise of a shared faith, right? This is the conversion of enslaved Africans, survival and control. Let's keep it moving. However, conversion often came with a tragic compromise. The enslaved were stripped of their traditional beliefs and histories, and many were indoctrinated with doctrines that discouraged critical examination of their plight. Slaveholders manipulated Christian teachings, emphasizing obedience and submission as virtues, further pacifying the enslaved population and steering them away from a Hebraic understanding of the scriptures. Right? You lost your ability to understand the scriptures. And listen, even it's like that today. All truth has to be, given by their oppressor, or they don't want to hear it. You come with that information. You come with that critical thinking and that history, all right? And you come with diligent studies, and they say, get away from me with that black stuff, Sharif, right? Here you go again with that black stuff. It is what it is. The Bible is black history, and it's time for us to wake you up. Okay, the enslaved descendants of Africa were taught to accept a version of Christianity that violated their subjugation, that validated Salakia. They were taught to accept a version of Christianity and the Bible that validated their subjugation and discouraged them from seeking liberation through Yah's commandments, right? Same as we tell you today, and what the Most High promises in Deuteronomy chapter 30, the only way to turn our captivity is to return to keeping the laws. And these religions, especially Christianity, which teaches that the laws are done away with, are to keep you from, all right, liberating yourself, according to the promises in Deuteronomy chapter 30, right? Deuteronomy 30, read that, get that, understand. That's the only way that the Most High's promises to turn our captivity. But anyways, the teachings they received emphasized allegiance to their earthly masters rather than Yah's Torah. which further removed them from the Hebraic heritage. In Deuteronomy 28:36, he says, "But Yah warned you against you serving foreign gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known." Right? The legacy of religious indoctrination and political allegiance, because a lot of folks, so-called black Christians, they're, by default Democrat, right? Like, showing any type of allegiance to an oppressive system, all right, is supposed to be, it is what it is. It's just nonsensical, but it is. Let's get it. Generations after emancipation, right? Generations after emancipation, the descendants of enslaved Africans remained heavily influenced by the form of Christianity instilled during slavery, right? Many were brought up with the sense of loyalty to religious institutions that had historically oppressed them, and over time, this loyalty extended to political affiliations as well. In the United States, for instance, the black community was often encouraged to align with political ideologies that promised social welfare, frequently leading them to support the Democratic Party. Okay. And before it was the Democratic Party, it was the Republican Party. They just, changed sides. It is what it is. Okay. The political allegiance often continued the legacy of dependence rather than empowerment, echoing the teachings their ancestors were subjected to during enslavement. Just as enslaved Africans were directed towards a form of Christianity that subdued their spiritual power, their descendants found themselves aligning with systems that often prioritized dependence over liberation, right? We bring out these truths, but folks refuse to see the proof, right? What did he say? Deuteronomy 28:65. "And among those nations you are to find no rest, nor have a place of rest for the sole of your foot. But there Yah shall give you trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of being." Understand, this legacy serves as a reminder of the consequences for forsaking the Most High's commandments and the importance of returning to his Torah, right? The words of Deuteronomy 28:4 warned that exile would result in spiritual and physical subjugation, but they also offered a promise of restoration for those who return to the Most High Yah, right? We're not trying to, lead you to hell. We're trying to lead you to the Most High, right? A call to return, rediscovering Hebraic faith and identity, right? In the midst of exile and generational separation from their Hebraic roots, many are now awakening to the fullness of Yah's covenant, okay? Deuteronomy 30, verses 1 and 2 speaks of a time when those scattered among the nations would remember the commandments of Yah and return to Yah with all their heart. Same as what we read in Baruch chapter 2. As descendants of those who were enslaved, colonized, and forcibly converted find their way back to the Torah, they are rediscovering their spiritual heritage and rejecting the legacy of religious and political control that had been imposed upon them. Right? "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." That's where that saying comes from, where knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. Right? Those are truth. Let's get it. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1 and 2 says, "And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where Yahweh your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yah your Elohim and obey his voice, according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children." Right? Christianity is an institution set forth to keep you from obeying Deuteronomy 31 and 2. Right? That's the reason, that's the motivation for teaching you the laws are done away with. Okay? Understand that, underline that, underscore that, highlight it. It is what it is. That's the plight. That's the agenda. Okay? Let's get it. The journey back to the Torah is not only a return to Yah, but also an act of liberation from generations of spiritual subjugation for those who embrace their Hebraic identity. This return represents a breaking away from the influence of replacement theology. We know who we are now. You can't fool us no more, right? All of those white painted pictures of people in the Bible, those are lies. We get it. We are the people, right? In the Torah, we find freedom, identity, and a covenant that cannot be replaced. You are the apple of the Most High's eyes. Let's get the Protestant Reformation, right? This is what we came here for. Colonization and the fulfillment of prophecy, all right? And we're getting it from a Hebraic perspective. The Protestant Reformation, which aimed to reform the excesses of corruption of the Roman Catholic Church, initiated a religious revolution that led to seismic shifts, all right, in Europe and beyond. From a Hebraic perspective, these events, particularly the spread of colonial powers to the Americas and the forced enslavement of millions of Africans, carry deeper significance, mirroring prophetic warnings about nations that would forsake Yah's commandments, right? In this discussion, right, we explore how the Reformation and its influence on colonial expansion fulfilled ancient prophecies found in Deuteronomy 28, which we already went through. You know what I'm saying? We'll touch on key scriptures again. We'll examine how religious doctrines, such as replacement theology developed by key reformers, set the stage for subjugation of countless people and estranged them from their Hebraic heritage, right? It says, resulting in both spiritual and physical exile of generations, right? So let's get it. Colonization, the new promised land, right? The myth of a holy mandate. Certainly, here's a more detailed version that delves deep into the historical, theological, and prophetic elements of the topic, right? The title, right? Protestant Reformation, colonization, the fulfillment of prophecy. So let's get into it. The Protestant Reformation, which aimed to reform the excesses of the corruption of the Roman Catholic Church, initiated a religious revolution that led to seismic shifts. I already read this. All right, let's just move on to the next part. All right. So, in the eyes of many, colonizers, right? In the eyes of many European colonizers, the Americas became a new promised land, where they believed they could establish a purified faith and build societies according to their understanding of Yah's will, right? They saw themselves as modern-day Israelites, entertaining a land of promise, justifying the displacement and conversion of indigenous populations as part of their divine mandate. This interpretation, however, lacked the covenantal principles established by the Most High in the Torah, which center on justice, stewardship, obedience to His commandments, so on and so forth. Instead, this divine mission led to violence, enslavement, and a systematic erasure of the spiritual identities of the people that they encountered, right? Or the people that the Bible pertained to. And we already read Deuteronomy 28 and 64, right? The colonizers, under the guise of spreading the gospel, imposed a religion stripped of its Hebraic roots, right? They replaced it, they recolored it, right? They took the salt out. They didn't put no flavor in it. They just made it white, right? This resulted in spiritual, physical, and cultural displacement, fulfilling the prophecy of exile and foreign oppression warned in the Torah. For those who were conquered, enslaved, and forcibly converted, the so-called New Promised Land became a place of suffering and loss, right? Should have been a good thing, but it became a dark thing. And one of the darkest consequences of the Reformation influence was the transatlantic slave trade, right? Driven by a thirst for wealth and territorial expansion. European nations forcibly removed millions of Africans from their homelands to serve as laborers in the colonies. Enslaved Africans were taken across the Atlantic and on an harrowing journey, sold into a system of bondage that treated them as commodities and not as human beings. This oppression aligns hauntingly with the warnings in Deuteronomy 28, where the curses of exile, captivity, and perpetual subjugation are outlined as consequences for forsaking the covenant, right? We'll bring it out as much as we need to, all right? Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yah shall bring you back to Egypt again in ships, by way of which I said to you, you are never to see it again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one shall buy you, right? No one shall redeem you. The prophecies reference to being transported in ships to foreign lands, right? Because they didn't have to you can't get to Egypt by ship, you know what I'm saying, the physical Egypt. So Egypt, you know what I'm saying, in the context or of scripture is talking about the house of bondage. But anyways, let's get back to it. The prophecies reference to being transported in ships to foreign lands where they would be sold as slaves mirrors the tragic experience of enslaved Africans. Although this prophecy was directed at the children of Israel, its message resonates universally, highlighting the suffering that ensures when people forsake the Most High's commandments. The slave trade, which operates on principles of dehumanization and exploitation, shows how far societies have strayed from the Torah ethically and spiritually, right? For the enslaved, right? The transatlantic journey was not just physical displacement, but spiritual exile. They were stripped of their language, traditions, and belief systems, as everything that the scriptures already said. So we're not going to stay there. We're not going to beat a dead horse. Let's get to the Protestant movement, right? The replacement theology, because with the people not in the land, all right, with the people being scattered and with the people not knowing who they are, these people decided, hey, we'll be the people and we'll manipulate the scriptures to say, hey, the church has replaced Israel. So let's get it. Replacement theology and the erasure of Hebraic roots, all right, doctrinal shifts and consequences. The Protestant Reformation marked a critical period in development of replacement theology, a doctrine that claimed the church had replaced Israel in Yah's covenant. This belief would later be used to justify the cultural and spiritual erasure of the people colonized and enslaved by European powers. Early church fathers such as Justin Martyr and Ignatius of Antioch had already sowed the seeds of this doctrine, right? You don't hear a lot about them, but we'll get into them in a little bit, all right? They sowed the seed of that replacement doctrine, but it was during the Reformation that replacement theology became solidified and it spread and changed the whole world, okay? By rejecting the Torah. These doctrines made the church's mission less about the Most High's commands and more about control, right? That's why people are mad at the Bible. I'm like, no, your beef's not with the Bible, it's with Christianity, right? But anyways, it was less about the Most High's commandments, but more about control, effectively cutting off believers from their Hebraic foundations. Key figures in shaping this doctrine include John Martyr, all right? We'll deal with John Martyr, one of the earliest proponents of replacement theology, all right? Justin Martyr claimed that the church was the true Israel and thus distanced early Christians from observing the Torah. His writings reinforced the notion that Gentile believers were no longer bound to the commandments given to the Most High, all right, or the commandments that were given to Israel, right? And you'll hear a lot of Christian apologetics try to make that the same argument. Oh, that argument is that, well, those laws are for Israel. The Gentiles don't have to keep the laws, right? Well, he started this, you know what I'm saying, replacement theology, or that argument for the replacement theology, you know what I'm saying, back in 100 CE, right? Then you have Ignatius of Antioch, right, from 35 to 108 current era, all right? Ignatius, he advocated for a distinct Christian identity apart from Jewish practices, urging believers to separate from the Torah entirely, right? Get away from that thing, right? And then I think that, it was Constantine that did the exact same thing with the Edict of Milan, where they were putting people to death for trying to honor the Sabbath day, right? Instead of Sunday. It is what it is. His teachings encouraged early believers to view their faith as disconnected from its Hebraic roots. That was his whole thing. Then you had Augustus Hippo, right? Augustus of Hippo from 354 to 430 current era, right? Augustine's writings framed the promises to Israel as allegories for the church, right? So those things that they were reading in the Bible, they were like, those are allegorical for those who believe in Jesus, right? And a lot of people still try to make that argument today, right? But he was interpreting Israel's role in prophecy as a spiritual metaphor rather than a literal reality. Okay, so as they took the freedom of rewriting the scriptures and creating Christianity, you know what I'm saying, and imagining themselves in the role, you know what I'm saying, we were literally going through the curses of Deuteronomy. You know what I'm saying? This approach, it downplayed the Torah's significance and encouraged believers to view the Hebrew scriptures as symbolic rather than instructional. Okay. And a lot of people make that argument today. Then we had your boy Martin Luther with the Reformation of the 16th century. Martin Luther from 1483 to 1546, although he initially critiqued the Catholic Church, Luther's later writings took on anti-Semitic tones and strongly opposed Jewish observance. His influence would shape Protestants' disregard for the Torah observance, leading to a growing chasm between Christianity and its Hebraic origins, right? And that's just further proof that the Most High didn't give these people this Bible, right? And it should show you that Christianity that's why you don't see it in the scriptures. These people changed and made a remix. And that's what you believe today. Don't get mad at us for trying to bring you back to the laws. That's how it was supposed to be. But anyways, let's get to John Calvin. John Calvin was one of Martin Luther's contemporaries, all right? And he challenged Martin on certain things. And you still have what they call Calvinists today. A lot of the people that come from the, I would say, community of the, what do they call themselves? Apologetics. They call themselves Reformed Calvinists, right? But anyways, Calvin reinforced the belief that the new covenant abolished the Torah, declaring Israel's role on the Torah's commandments to be irrelevant for believers. This view further entrenched replacement theology, further promoted the idea that the church now had the role of the covenantal Israel, right? True story. You don't have the word. Deuteronomy 28:15. This is the Most High's word, right? You can't sit up there and make a philosophy out of it. This is you. And it shall be, if you do not obey the voice of Yahweh Elohim to guard to do all the commands and his laws which I command you today, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. All of that stuff that our ancestors have went through are a consequence, right? The Most High's word is so succinct and sincere and serious, right? It's so serious that you can't afford to take it as allegory, right? It's a metaphor for this or that. No, the Most High is dead serious, and he took our ancestors through slavery and Jim Crow, okay, and the plight that we have today, you know what I'm saying, because he's serious. He says what he means, and he means what he says. So anyways, let's get back to it. Through these doctrines, generations of Christians were taught that the Torah was obsolete, undermining the commandments of the Most High, all right? And it had given them a foundation the foundation of his covenant. This theological shift not only justified the mistreatment of indigenous and enslaved people, but also severed believers from the Torah, right? It tore them away from it, a pattern that mirrored the warnings in Deuteronomy 28, which we just read. The curses outlined there were not merely punishment, but a call to return to the Most High's commandments. Yet generations found themselves instead led further and further away, right? Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20. He giveth his word to Jacob, his statutes, his judgments to Yisrael. He has not done so with these pale faces, okay? It is what it is, right? As enslaved Africans were forcibly brought to the Americas, their captors sought to convert them to Christianity, often presented them as the sole path to salvation, right? Conversion to Christianity became a survival mechanism for many enslaved Africans, offering a small measure of favor with their captors and occasionally promising some alleviation from their suffering, all right? However, this form of Christianity was often stripped of its Hebraic roots, emphasizing obedience to masters and subservience rather than liberation and adherence to the Most High's commands. And then also, when they came to the new land, you understand that there were thousands of different tribes, okay, of Native Americans, right? But the only ones they recognized were the ones who converted to Christianity. That's why they call them the 5 civilized tribes, right? It is what it is. All of the other ones went unrecognized by the government because they refused, okay, to convert to Christianity. So there was a lot at stake with you converting to this false religion that didn't have you follow the scriptures in its totality, right? So anyways, a conversion as a means of survival, right? For the enslaved, this Christianity lacked the elements of justice, redemption, and the covenantal identity found in the Torah, right? And then even when the Torah speaks of slavery, there's also a year of Jubilee, that in that 50th year, you were to forgive all debts and set your slaves free. Okay, so they were nowhere near what the scriptures was actually teaching, but instead their conversion served as a tool of pacification, okay, deterring enslaved Africans from rebelling and encouraging them to accept their station as divinely ordained, right? And then you have some people still telling you that today, that it is what it is. Over time, many accepted this version of Christianity, merging it with their own cultural expressions and creating a unique yet limited spiritual identity shaped by the confines of their subjugation, right? Okay, because the Most High warned you against serving of the mighty ones, all right? While the enslaved sought meaning within their faith within the faith that was forced upon them, they were often denied access to full scriptures, leaving them with a version of Christianity that preached submission and discouraged the pursuit of justice and liberation. And how ironic is it today when you go into the church, you hear the same messages all over again, right? And then, you know what I'm saying? And it's always the same regurgitated message, but you don't hear the rest of the Bible. It's the same thing that they did to the enslaved Africans, only allowed them to read a portion of the Bible. What happened when what's his name, Nat Turner, started preaching the Bible and he got into the rest of the Bible, right? He became militant. He understood who he was. They didn't want you reading that and finding out who you are. While the enslaved sought meaning within the faith forced upon them, they were often denied access to the full scripture, leaving them with a version of Christianity that preached submission and discouraged the pursuit of justice and liberation, right? After emancipation, the descendants of enslaved Africans inherited a faith shaped by oppression, right? Let me read that again. After emancipation, the descendants of enslaved Africans inherited a faith shaped by oppression, right? Generational indoctrination and political allegiances, right? While their political identities were influenced by promises of social welfare and political powers. In the United States, the black community was often encouraged to align with the Democratic Party, which pledged civil rights and social support. However, this loyalty sometimes reinforced dependency rather than empowerment, echoing the teachings of obedience instilled during slavery. Same message, same foolishness, right? That's why we say, you know what I'm saying, anybody that's calling themselves, especially black folks, you know what I'm saying, that's calling themselves Christians today, they suffer from short-term memory loss, right? It wasn't even that long ago. Not to beat a dead horse or to be mean to them, because we was in there. We was there, right? Let's get it. This generational inheritance of dependence, rather than self-sovereignty, reflects the enduring consequences for forsaking the Most High's covenant. We say this every Shabbat. The journey back to the Torah offers a path of true liberation, enabling people to rediscover their covenantal identity and reclaim the promises of the Most High, right? In Deuteronomy 28:65, he says, "And among the nations you are to find no rest, nor have a place of rest for the sole of your foot. But there Yah shall give you a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of being." Right? So we are called to return, rediscovering our Hebraic identity and faith. Okay? And we got into this already. Deuteronomy chapter 30. All right. The descendants of those who were enslaved, colonized, and indoctrinated are now awakening to the fullness of the Most High's covenant, and we're told to come back to the Torah. Right? So let's get it. Oh, I didn't know I was at the end already, but let's get it. In the midst of exile and generational separation from the Hebraic roots, many are now awakening to the fullness of Yah's covenant, right? That's where we find ourselves today, and a lot of folks don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? What's taking place? No. You know what I'm saying? The scales are falling from our eyes. We're understanding who we are according to the scriptures. Deuteronomy 31:2 speaks of a time when those scattered among the nations will remember the commandments and return to Yah with all their heart. Right? That's all we're doing. That's all we're promoting. That's all we're advocating for. Because listen, you've tried voting. A lot of folks mad at the Israelites, because you know we ain't voting. Deuteronomy 17 tells us, you know what I'm saying, not to even participate in that foolishness. But no, we not voting, and folks is mad at us because Trump's in office. You know what I'm saying? Understand that you're not finna vote away your oppression, you know. And not only that, you are supposed to come back to remembering the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, and that's the only way to liberate yourself, right? So as descendants of those who were enslaved, colonized, and forcibly converted find our way back to the Torah, we realize, okay, and we are rediscovering our spiritual heritage and rejecting the legacy of religion, all right, and the political control that's been imposed on us. At the end, I'm stumbling and bumbling, but that's Bible study. I wanted to circle the block with this because there was just a couple of key factors that I didn't get to bring out last Shabbat, all right? And it was just in my spirit. I couldn't move on from it until, you know what I'm saying, I got it all out, all right? So hopefully I got it all out. Hopefully y'all got something from it, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully you enjoyed this message. If so, you know what I'm saying, like the video, share the video if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already, you know what I'm saying? And Most High willing, we'll be back with another Shabbat. Let me fix my settings real quick. All right, and bring my brother Chick in. Shabbat shalom, brother Chick. Come in and give us some wisdom. Good to see you.
Shabbat shalom to you, bro. Just wanted to add a little bit, just based off what stood out to me, based off some conversations I had this week, and that you always point out that I think is important with this type of subject matter, and that's the importance of us having historical context when we're looking into this and really getting into the history of things. You brought it up earlier, and I feel like it's what you went through, and I say that because I've had a bunch of conversations this week just on things where if we truly study history the right way and understood it, we wouldn't get shaken so left and right. I think the conversation this week I was having with somebody, it don't make sense that the Most High gave Moses the law for the first time on the mountain. It's like they're not understanding that wasn't the first time. Things of that nature. Why didn't they know Joseph anymore? They don't understand the history of what was going on in Egypt at the time. So it's just important that we get that historical context. One of the blessings that I've seen by studying scripture with my kids and looking at it through history is that was one of their best subjects because it made it stand out to them. They understood it more. They believed it more. So I just wanted to advise people, get into books like the workings of Josephus. That's been a huge help for me. It's a big book. It's a breadth of information. I'm only maybe halfway through it, but it breaks down so many things. And what stood out to me today was it breaks down when our line was usurped by Herod and his kingdom, and what was going on during those times and how we felt about it. It wasn't something that we, were happy about, and how they switched that. So it's like, get into books like that because it really helps us understand, and it makes it more real. Like when you see the context of, it talks about Julius Caesar time and all that, and you see what we were doing, it makes history real and it makes it stand out. And then when we get into these scriptures, we can understand what was really going on and how we really got here. And I think it's very important. Having those conversations with my mother and sister this week really helped them to, I feel, stand up better against attacks that are being made on scripture based off perverting history just a little bit changes so much. So we have to make sure we have it down pat. So that's all I really want to add is just get into things like that. Look into Josephus if you have time. It's a big help. And, there's conversation on who Josephus was, whether he was one of our people or not. I don't think it matters as much because he's not teaching the word. He's just giving us history. But that's all I had. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that helped a lot. We appreciate that. There's of history, that brings us to the point of where we are today, and it's good that we can not only just prove our premise biblically, we can prove it biblically, but we can also prove it historically. Now, we bring out a lot of things on Shabbat that proves the narrative that the Most High's chosen people were those taken in the Atlantic slave trade, so on and so forth. We bring that evidence almost every Shabbat. But not only that, you know what I'm saying? It's also consequential that you understand the history of how Christianity became what it is, right? when we speak against things like Easter, we don't just speak about it and just use the Bible. We'll give you the historical context of when that thing became a thing. All right, so you can see the falseness in it. So hopefully what this message has done is opened your eyes to the origin of a situation and showing you the falseness of it. Okay, if you don't have the whole Bible, you don't have no Bible. Okay, so we have to bring it full circle, and hopefully, you know what I'm saying, we were able to accomplish that. But we appreciate you, Brother Chick. Facebook user, this is my father-in-law, Romeo. He's not showing up. But anyways, he says it's so sad that they never covered the Protestant Reformation in church Bible study. Nope, they wouldn't do that because that's where they get their doctrine. They're gonna try to agree with it. But it is what it is. It started from somewhere, right? And at the end of the day, it was stripped from its original people, taken its original meaning, all right, and used to subjugate the Most High's chosen people. We have to get back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And as you read Deuteronomy 30, you'll see the promises of the Most High to turn our captivity once we do so. Us and our children. Our children, you have to teach this word to your children because it's important that your children carry the legacy of getting back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. It is what it is. You're not finna turn anything at the ballot box. All right, it doesn't matter what they say. It is what it is, folks. It's like what is that saying? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's yeah, it's insanity. It's insanity, right? But that's the remedy that our people choose every single time. No, you've tried everything. You've tried marching. You've tried voting, right? You've tried running, and even tried running away when Kunta got his foot cut off, right? But you tried everything except for obedience. You've tried everything except for keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Try that before you knock it, right? And see if the Most High, you know what I'm saying, won't stay true to his word. It is what it is. All right, that being the case, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, for coming through. Brother Chick, we appreciate you as always. Brother Emmanuel Bronson, Sister Alice Bronson, Shabbat Shalom. Brother Brian Woods, Brother Eugene Sewell, Sister Yakahana, you know what I'm saying, Sister Yasatari De La Paz, Sister Chantel, you know what I'm saying, everybody else that's out there. I can't see you. Brother Quam 12, Shabbat Shalom. The Most High willing, we'll be back with another Shabbat Bible study. Until then, everybody enjoy the rest of your Shabbat.
My eyes on the prize, no lies for the youth. You gotta love them enough to tell them the truth. The reason why they killing and they dying in these streets. They don't know who they is. They don't know who they is, so preachers in pulpit, lying through their teeth. I can never hate them, but we do got beef. The reason why they lawless and they hate to hear the truth. They don't know who they is. They don't know who they is. Yahweh, we love you. Yahweh, we love you, we thank, we praise your comely name. This vessel is all yours. Take it over.